Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
What has to be addressed is the security of the border. You know that, I know that, the President of the United States knows that. I don't believe he particularly cares whether or not the border of the United States is secure. And that's the reason there's been this lack of effort, this lack of focus, this lack of resources. The President has sent powerful messages time after time by his policies, by nuances, that it is okay to come to the United States and you can come across and you'll be accepted in open arms.
My apology for the triple audio there on the Governor Perry. Basically, what he was saying is that the president doesn't seem to care. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. It's time for the Malzberg panel, and we welcome in columnist for Breitbart.com and American thinker C. Edmund Wright, and columnist for the UK Telegraph and National Review, Tom Rogan. And gentlemen, is Governor Perry right? And what about the optics, which apparently doesn't bother the White House, of the president raising money in Texas, or as Congressman Gohmert says, sucking money out of Texas, but not going to the border? Edmund?
Well, I couldn't hear the governor's comments, but if it's similar to what he said to Martha Raddatz, which I suspect it is, he's absolutely correct. You know, this has been not only just ignored by the Obama administration, it's been coordinated by it. Steve, there are twice as many alien children that have come over in the last number of months as we had Allied troops hit Normandy back in 1944. The point being, an invasion of this size doesn't happen without coordination and planning. And this administration has coordinated this, planned this, aided and abetted it.
In my opinion,
what about it, Tom?
Yeah, it's just very interesting. You know, what I was thinking about when the governor was speaking, UK, you know, back around 2000, where illegal immigrants were crossing under the Channel Tunnel, and getting across into the UK. And it was very obvious, you know, with a problem this scale, you would expect a concerted government effort. Certainly the federal government has the power to at least introduce some kind of strategy to deal with this. But I have to agree with Edmund. You know, I think if you look at what's happening, it just seems like another example of the administration playing politics in the way that they view politics, which is a means to a short-term end, the polling data rather than policies. And even on that issue, you know, I think you see they're out of touch with where the vast majority is laughable. But more than the immigration solely, it speaks to a government that is just dysfunctional on so many levels now.
Right, and Tom, to follow up on what Louis Gohmert, was saying earlier, and that is that not only any earlier remarks he made, he said we're going to turn America into a third world nation if we don't enforce immigration laws, but he talked about bankrupting the state of Texas and bankrupting the nation. He said the schools can't handle the influx, the hospitals can't handle the influx, none of the services can handle the influx, and you know, and they keep coming.
Right, but I think what the Democratic Party has decided, at least in the short term, is that this is a useful wedge issue, and that the votes that they can get from certain elements of American society it outweighs the costs in terms of very real fiscal costs, social costs of uncontrolled illegal immigration. Now, personally, you know, I'm pro-serious immigration reform, but the idea that you wouldn't secure the border, the idea that you would allow this humanitarian situation, this degradation of government power is ludicrous.
Edmund, Gohmert also said, when I asked him if the president will get his $2 billion, he said, I'll give him $2 billion to secure the border and to send back the illegals. That's not what the president wants the money for. Do you think that this is ever going to happen?
No, it's not going to happen. Understand, you know what the Obama administration is doing here is they're importing liberalism, they're importing poverty, they're importing problems for the very red state of Texas, they're importing future Democrat voters. This is purely a political move, and of course they're playing on the heartstrings of the American people. Probably even had something to do with this company that's giving them toys that was, you know, hit the internet yesterday, to turn this into a fuzzy story of children needing help when really it's a politically calculated invasion for raw political goals.
Yeah. You know, I
and Edmund, Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I would add to that, I think clearly the children in this case, there is a humanitarian issue that is deeply troubling. I genuinely feel for those children, but the problem is this idea that the administration somehow cares for them is, I think that takes a lot of testing of the logical mind, because they see this in exactly the way I think Edmund puts out, that it is a political opportunity. This is not about the children or humanitarianism.
No, they use children the way Hamas uses children, which is to hide behind them and to hide their agenda behind them. Absolutely.
All right, and I wanted to ask you about the children specifically, because the director or the Secretary of Homeland Security was on Meet the Press, and he just would not say, despite the fact that David Gregory, much to my surprise, pressed him, he would not say the kids are going back. Edmund, I don't believe they're ever going back. That's my opinion.
No, they're not going back. They've already lined up a way the kids are going to stay here, and they're going to figure out a way to get the rest of their families here. So you can multiply times 3 or 4 the number of kids with the number of future Democrat voters and immediate welfare recipients that we're importing to the country. And of course, anyone with a heart feels for the kids, but they're being used as a pawn. But that doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice our sovereignty and our first world status, because the Obama administration's using these kids as pawns.
Yeah. Tom, they're going back?
No, I have to say, I agree with Edmund. I don't think they're going back. And I think, the broader issue here, though, is you look at the politics of Central America, South America, and the growth of civil instability, crime, dysfunctional government. The administration talks a lot, this issue that perhaps America is not as special as I think most of us believe it is. I think is, look at what's happening here. It's so dysfunctional on the one side of the US government, but it's also dysfunctional in the sense that why are we not condemning more openly the utter failure of liberal governance and dysfunction in Central America, which is, in my view, the key cause of this symptom.
All right, we're going to come back, guys. Stay right where you are. See Edmund Wright and Tom Rogan. And when we come back, we will discuss what's going on in Israel with the rockets being fired from Gaza and the capture of those responsible for the death of the Palestinian teenager. You want to weigh in, folks, on anything we're talking about on social media? Here is how you do it.